Hello, hello. We are here today at the Money and You Show wanting to talk about new starts and how you might start over after a divorce or another life change that resulted in you needing to earn your own income. And maybe you haven't needed to do that, or maybe you need to earn more. So today's going to be a really interesting show for people who are either in a life change or would like a life change and are contemplating having to start earning on their own once again. Stay tuned. Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Money and You Show. So excited about today's show. We're going to talk about how to really start over, start earning your money kind of on an emergency basis. Our guest today is Leena Choudharry, and she is going to give us an inspiring story it's her story, and it's going to help us to see how she put this together under some pretty difficult circumstances. So I'm going to tell you a little about Leena. Contrary to the typical immigrant story, she never chased the American dream, yet landed here in St. Louis out of an arranged marriage situation. After completing her undergraduate and master's in India with focus on accounting and finance, she moved here in 2000. She's a forward-thinking, innovative, and solution-oriented professional with a proven 15-plus year record of leadership and accomplishments. In 2012, she started her entrepreneurial journey with an academic tutoring and test prep program. This business grew and expanded ever since. In 2018, she started a recruitment agency, which is MWBE certified and provides full-service outsourced recruitment support. Major clients are from Fintech, IT, banking, and the aviation space. In 2019, when she stepped away from her marriage, she had the task of restarting her life afresh and being able to earn money on her own terms, which was really important. Currently, she manages 2 companies and a full-time job. Obviously, the support and attention of friends, family, mentors, and fellow entrepreneurs in her circle has been the foundation of her success. Welcome, Leena. Thank you. So the beginning of that bio was actually you speaking with your immigrant story, and then it became me explaining you. So I want to just mention that. So Leena, tell us a little about your background. It sounds very interesting. So share, please, with the audience where you came from, how you come to do what you're doing.
Sure. I moved here, as I said earlier, from India. And then at that time, the role was more like a homemaker. But then back home, I have been educated. And I was part of a business family always. So for me, doing business always came naturally. But coming to US and being in a new environment, new culture, it was just sitting back and understanding the whole environment and seeing what you can be good at. So that took a few years. And then along the line, I was more focusing on my personal life. So with that said, that's more my past. And then as years went by, it was about, okay, what is next? What can you do? So obviously, always taking a full-time job has always been an option. But I always have my inclination towards doing business as well. So it was always about just balancing that out along with the family life. And that's where I'm today.
And Leena, what was the transition that you made with respect to your marriage and needing to sort of start on your own to earn your income?
As an immigrant and coming from a country like India where family values are very strong, there's always an emphasis on keeping everything together. But there comes a point where if it's not working, it is about just moving on and seeing what you can do for yourself and also work-wise. So it became that decision. But over the years, I had made a lot of good friends and seen a lot of people who have moved on and, were able to be successful. So I took courage from that. But at the same time, it was just about once you step away, what can you do for yourself? Will it be a success or failure? That's always a fear. But you move on and, at some point, you're going to lose it all. And so you have to just do that. And I just went deep dive with that faith. And I'm happy I did that.
Yeah. And how did you think about money during that period? Because obviously there had to be, it's a little scary to think about starting fresh. And so what were some of your, was there some financial preparation that you did, or, how did you make that work?
Great question. For me, though I'm educated as in accounting degree, this was like a life transition decision. So I did not really plan anything at all. I was probably more and more in the negative and just at a complete loss when I made that decision. So I knew going forward, I would not have that backup of a lot of financial stability. But at the same time, I always knew if I worked, I will be able to come out of it really soon. So I really just took a deep dive on faith and on my ability that whatever the circumstances, I'll be able to come out of it. For me, it was more important that I came out of that situation and then faced whatever came next. So that's how I just had to do it, and I did it.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's impressive. It's because it's scary to do that, obviously. But on the other hand, did you kind of know inside that being in that position would almost force you to succeed at what you needed to succeed at?
Yes, it is there. But then again, you're jumping into a total world of chaos and environment, which is totally foreign to you. You don't know because, as I said, I've been here for a long time in a different situation. So now at this point, when you completely give everything up and try to start over, at the beginning, it's always going to be adversity. And you just need to know deep down inside that you can survive through that and you have a support of that. So those two things are really important. If you just find even one person who continues to believe in you, I think you can pull through.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So it sounds like you didn't really plan financially. You probably really couldn't, not knowing that you were even going to do this, but you did sort of plan emotionally, it sounds like, for how to keep yourself on top of this and somehow emotionally stable. So how did you make a decision about what to do next, like in terms of your business?
So for me, I had the businesses already existing. So it did not make sense to just quit on that because that was part of my identity and things were already in the process. I had started the first business in 2012. So I just decided for a while to see how I can now put in more time and effort and see how I can grow those businesses. So I made those decisions, but at the same time, it was just more about networking. I really started to network a lot. I found a place where I could restart my office. And there I met a lot of other fellow entrepreneurs and a few mentors as well. And with that, it was just one step after another. They say when one door closes, many others open. So I think for me, that's what happened. And step by step, more and more doors kept opening, and I kept on finding more success in the businesses that I was doing. And though right around that time, COVID also happened. So for a moment, I was really scared.
Yeah.
But then eventually, things just went in the right direction, especially I have the recruitment business. So COVID, in a way, just really supported my business. I know many people suffered a lot, but for the way the recruitment business works, it became more online. So that just gave me time to build my team and then to reach out to more companies and see how we can grow the business. So that's kind of how it all started.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great. And I love that you brought up networking. Always such an important part of life, whether you're trying to transition your career or grow a business. And it's also life enhancing when you're going through a major change to be networking and meeting people. And some of those people are professional connections, but a lot of them also become friends, and so or mentors, or so you find a lot of different people when you're doing actively networking like that. So you want to tell us a little about the recruitment business that you have?
The recruitment business is, we started doing more with manufacturing and food color business, primarily in the first 2 years. That's what we did. And then through the COVID, then it was about the IT recruitment really opened up as an option. So currently we do a lot of customized recruitment work for a lot of companies. Mm-hmm. We are a dedicated recruiter for them. And within that, we do both IT and non-IT roles. But primary focus is Missouri and Illinois. But apart from that, really, me being Asian American, all the IT, a lot of IT talent comes from the Asian American community. So I don't have any shortage of a good talent pool. Yeah. So that's why I think companies just find it very attractive to work with us. And we have a team right now here in the US as well as back office in India as well. So it's just been great to work with a lot of different companies. Me having that banking and finance education at the background, it just helps me to understand more about the job requirements and what type of talent might be a good fit. So all of those things just enhance more our services. And we're also minority women-owned business certified. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure you've had huge growth in the last couple of years. I'd love to know how your finance and accounting background has helped you to develop this business, because I'm always trying to impress upon people that it's important to pay attention to your numbers and to understand your financials and to use them, to make decisions in your business. So what have you found? You have the background in that, but you're not running an accounting business. So how did you, incorporate all that into your business and use that to help you grow?
What happens is, as an accountant, if you have that accounting background, you're always taught to worry about the cost and then the profits that come, so your cost of doing business, basically. So I've a little bit of conservative side. I always think about the worst, and that's how I use that fear to make my business decisions. So basically with that, it was always about, okay, if things go wrong, or especially as a business owner, you're always thinking about the cost of doing advertising. And through COVID, I learned that a lot of the funds or the budget you have to put into marketing and advertising. So it was about, okay, and usually whenever you put funds into marketing, there's no return at all in that way that you can quantify cost versus benefit. So it was about, okay, what can you do? How do you design that marketing strategy that is effective? Though it does not give return, you're fine, because ultimately your name grows and your network grows. Especially in recruitment business, it's all about who you know and whether they want to do business, whether it is the job seekers or the clients. So I had to be very, very cautious about that. Other than that, really the cost of doing business, I tried to keep the cost to the minimum. Again, the other aspect, especially in the recruitment business, is that you never get paid upfront, especially when you're new in the business. A lot of the companies, the bigger companies, they get to charge retainer, but we don't. So I'm going too much detail into my business.
No, it's interesting.
But so that's why it's like you get paid after somebody has actually joined the job and they've stayed on the job for at least 45 days to 2 months. And then, the company will pay you. So it's a lot of wide window. Mm-hmm. So it was about, okay, just expanding your, stretching your dollar to the limit is what I would say.
That's interesting. I actually didn't know that. So did you focus on just keeping costs low, trying to put together some savings? I mean, how did you, once you realized that, how did you manage it? Because you almost need some funding going into that business, even though it's low overhead, which, you know, because we're talking about starting over with earning on your own, I think you chose something that was exciting to do, because low overhead, if you have a computer and you're willing to get out there and talk to people, it sounds like you can start something like what you started. Is that true, or am I oversimplifying?
No, that is true, because for me, it was about whether you take a lot of loans and then do the business, or you put in your own personal funds. So as I said, for me, the COVID time, there were a lot of federal funding available. So for me, I was able to get some of that. In addition to that, I used a lot of my personal funds in order to support the business, because I did not want to take high interest paying loans and things like that. Mm-hmm. So those two things, and just, you know, being just wise enough to not put in, hire a lot of people on a full-time basis, rather than have people work as consultants or pay as you go kind of a thing. So that way, those smaller, those decisions really help to stretch that dollar out. And really, that's the only way I survived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. I do love today's world, because you can get into business fairly easily, depending on the type of business it is. So yeah, that's great. And then obviously knowing how the money's coming in informs you as to how to run the business, because you need to be waiting, you know, you need to figure out that gap period where you're waiting for your money to come in. So yeah, how much of a learning curve was there for you jumping in and starting this?
Wow. That was almost 2 years, a good 2 years, because IT recruitment was something that was really new for me. So around that, there was a lot of learning that I got to do. And thankfully, again, it was a quieter time. So I got time to read and work and, you know, take more experience and talk to a lot of other IT recruiters. So that really helped. And then with that, it was just about making a lot of mistakes. So I won't say that we were successful right at the get-go, but as we started working and doing more IT placements, we made a lot of mistakes, costly mistakes. But then over time, it became like, okay, now we know the red flags, so stay away from them.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of a mistake, just so people can kind of wrap their head around that?
Yes, again, this will be very much specific to my business. A few of the mistakes were about, you know, signing up, being overexcited and signing up on a lot of IT platforms, or signing up for a lot of advertising campaigns, or thinking that we needed a product which we really did not need. Mm-hmm. And those are expensive contracts you sign for a year, and then you're stuck with them otherwise, and you get slapped with lawyers and, you know, collection notices and all of that. So those mistakes, and then we made, though we are a recruitment company, we made some people we brought on board which were really not very effective. So all of those costs, but, you know, it all works out.
Right.
It's a learning curve. I just take it as a learning curve. You make mistakes at the beginning is better than, you know, growing really big and then making very big mistake and then. So.
Yeah, great point. And I love what you said about having to add a product, or feeling like you did. I think we all look at our businesses and we think, oh, well, you know, if I just have these different services or these products to go with the services or whatever, and we spend a lot of time sometimes putting that together and making that happen. And it isn't necessary. It's just we're sort of scrambling around thinking that other thing is what we need. So I think that's a great point that you make. And it sounds like you got out there. Did you do a lot of setup, or did you just go out and hit the ground running, contacting companies? Because that's the other thing, people feel like, you know, you've got to have all your ducks in a row and the perfect website and this and that before you start. You didn't really have, it sounds like, the leeway to even wait around. So in a way that was probably helpful. But did you grapple with that at all?
Yes, definitely. I mean, when you are And this is like an oxymoron, especially when you're new in a business, you're automatically new out there. So obviously nobody trusts you that you can deliver. At the same time, you are competing with companies who have been established for many, many years. So what value are you bringing in? What capability do you have? I still struggle with that, answering that question whenever I'm bidding for contracts or talking to new companies or clients. So that is always going to be put against you. And the only saving grace during those times you have is, hey, people know me, maybe not from this industry, but from somewhere else. So what do you think? Do you still want to work? Is this your need? Is this your pain point? And I think I can fill it that way. I always try to have the conversation that way rather than trying to say or prove something that I don't have. Mm-hmm. So that's my approach always. And working with my team, other things that I've worked upon really and understood is that training the teams is really important because we've been able to establish our business more as very customized and very client focused in order to deliver results. So that differentiator is always very important. So though it is a minority owned business, but at the same time, I've always placed a lot of importance on putting myself apart from other minority businesses, as well as letting them see that you work with us, but at the same time, you also are committed to delivering with us in a quick turnaround.
Interesting. How has being a minority-owned business certified as that helped you, and would you recommend that to other business owners?
Yes, definitely. I mean, as I said, if you are a new startup business, you don't have anything to put yourself in front of people. That definitely adds a layer of trust that you can always say that I also have this certification. But in addition to that, definitely working through this process, I got to learn a lot of things. And then you can always bid, as I said earlier, with a lot of other bigger companies, your competitors. And you still, at least, even if they don't decide not to work with you, they might let you be a subcontractor for somebody else who has a contract. So there's that window of opportunity as well.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So what else would you suggest to people who are in a position where they don't have a lot of time? They've got to start earning, income fairly quickly, either with a business or a job. Did you consider kind of doing both, getting a job and starting the business? Did that ever occur to you?
Oh, yeah, always. And then I know a lot of, especially women entrepreneurs, they've always wanted to work, and I have so many friends who do that. Either they've worked first and then they always had this dream that at some point they're going to start their own business. So now they have their funds saved up and then now they're starting a business, they give up their jobs and do that. I did the opposite. For me, it was just, more my personal situation, which led me to do a business first. And then I did decide at some point that having a job, again, more for me to balance out my personal and my financial situation overall and to cover the risk of the business. Because again, business things go up and down always, so you have to be prepared for that. So I did also make that decision to get a job. But then I'm glad I was able to set up my business, build on a good team, and then took the job. So really right now, day in and day out, I don't do much. My team handles everything. So I'm just very blessed that way.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's really kind of the goal, to be able to run the business without you. So yeah, so you're in a position now. What about the earlier business you had? Do you still have that as well? Or is that the one?
Sorry, go ahead.
Is that the one you're referring to or the new one?
Actually, both. Okay. So the first one also, I never actually did the work. I was just managing. And with the second business also, it's just more right now. I'm not doing day in and day out a lot, but my team manages definitely all the meetings, client meetings and everything I do. But it's working out. Somehow it's working out. That's
great. I love that. So you have really income from three sources. Just
trying to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And how does that, how do you find the time to manage the businesses, even though you're at a high level managing, how do you manage that just in your life?
Organization, over the years, I've just, learned to just focus and set aside dedicated time for everything. Use of technology, I'm cell phone texting, and just using a lot of, especially recruitment business, work through LinkedIn, at least for us. So all of those things in a combination, they're working, and then I use some of the weekend time, which is not very ideal.
Yeah, wow, that's great though, because I think most people wouldn't. That's a great way to think about it, to think, I'm not going to sell my business or move on from my business. I'm going to actually keep my business making money for me while I move on to the next thing. So, I hear people a lot talking about real estate, and people will say, well, when's the best time to sell? And the pretty savvy real estate people out there will probably say never, like hang on to it. And you're sort of doing that with your businesses. So I think that's kind of cool, actually. What would you advise people who are listening to this and thinking, that sounds amazing to me. I would love to be able to build businesses and then step away and what are some tips for people? I
would say the first step is organization, just organizing your own work, and then being good at delegating. If you are able to do those first two steps, then the third thing is the training your staff so that they are able to manage, and then building that, because it's all about trust. If your internal team is really very strong and they're able to do the work properly, then really you don't have to worry, because especially I think I'm just lucky just the way both the businesses are structured, in that a lot of things can be done remotely. So, and then through the systems. So really, it's not like physical work somebody has to do. As long as that is all really explained very well, you have proper systems and processes for that, things do happen and you do continue to see the results.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because it's systems, processes, and training are really the high priority areas that you've found. And I feel like for a lot of people, those get sort of left behind. And and I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs who have trouble with the teams. The teams are really their bottleneck versus helping them. And they aren't trained that well, nor do they really know how to train them. Training is a bit of an art form. So what are some tips, some things that you found that has helped you to be able to train your team so well?
I would say the first is a mindset. And luckily, again, here my upbringing, that the fact that I grew up in India, I see the difference there and here with people is, here in America, everybody wants to do everything by themselves. Versus in India, there's somebody else, there's more people, so there's more employment opportunities. So there are so many people who work for you. So you automatically think that you don't have to do everything. So I see a lot of entrepreneurs, some of my friends and others also, they try to do everything by themselves, and they think that, if it's not that they cannot afford another person, but they just think they should do a lot of it by themselves. And I understand there are some things wherein you cannot share everything with your team. But at the same time, the more you start to bring in more people to work for you, or be able to identify that maybe this is something that somebody else can do for me, and it will make my job faster, or, my delivery faster. If they just think it that way, then that cost that they put towards that another resource they bring on, that just becomes more of an asset for them rather than a liability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is the key to being able to step away, is to have a great team who can do the things for you. And I love that you brought that up about the difference between India and America with that, because I'm listening to David Brooks' The Second Mountain book, and he talks a lot about that. And, just around here, you don't learn that until you're older and you're looking kind of back on your life. But it is super important to be able to get other people to help you, whether that's in any capacity. So, that's really great. I think that's a good message that training needs to be a high priority if you want to go in that direction. Mm-hmm. So, Leenna, I just want to ask you about the accounting and finance aspect of it and the money part. Do you manage that, or do you let somebody else manage that in your business as well?
I do both. So I do have accounting team also that does that. But then again, I do manage pretty much the numbers very closely.
Yeah. Okay. And so as you do this, is your goal to start some additional businesses? Or you're pretty good at this, it sounds like. So,
not yet.
Okay.
I have too much right now on my plate, so not right now. But yes, there's always, once you're an entrepreneur, I guess you're always, and ideas keep popping in your head all the time.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm trying to meditate and de-stress myself right now.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for this. And obviously you've shown people that it is possible to, kind of just jump into the unknown and start something like this, which I think is a great inspiring message. So, and you haven't worked at it that long, so that's pretty hopeful for people. And as you look back, do you have any kind of last thoughts on reflecting back? Anything you'd change? Or are you just glad the way you did it? Any thoughts on that?
Yes and no. So definitely in the years that I've been here, probably I could have taken a master's degree or something sooner. That probably would have helped me. So right now I'm working towards it. So that's coming soon. That's in the works. But then other than that, I think just for me, I did not have any choices in my past. So I won't be able to go back and change or think that, hey, I should have done it the other way. I did not have that option. But now each day as I'm living and seeing just in the past 3-4 years how my life has just transformed, I think it's just that sometimes you have to lose everything to get what you get and then just be happy with it and then just see where life takes you. So that has been, but I know through the COVID, a lot of, because I was talking to so many people, especially job seekers, pretty much from all levels. So a lot of people were struggling really with the whole pivoting, or, now they had financial situations, so they had to now take on a job, full-time job and things like that. And some people who had a job, they just wanted to work remotely. Mm-hmm. So I was talking to a lot of different people from different circumstances. So it was about okay, pivoting and then nobody will give me a job. I said, no, it's not like that. I pivoted in my business also because as I said, I did not have any background of recruitment. I started a recruitment company, and within that, with my divorce, I lost my client. It was a global company. And then I was left with no clients. And then I got into IT recruitment. So what do? It was like net loss for me. So I pivoted. I learned and I got there. It did not happen in an instant, but hey, today is 2023. I started this somewhere in 2019. So things happen. It took 3-4 years, but here I am. So things happen. I think sometimes we just don't see the other success stories around us, and we just feel very overwhelmed and scared. But sometimes things happen, and everything works out.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, and thank you for sharing a success story with people who can benefit from that, which I think is all of us basically. But it is very inspiring, and you sound very calm, actually. So I think that's great, and I think people can see that you really have become an empowered woman, and you did that for yourself, really. So That's always a very good thing to see. And I love the message of networking and meeting people and allowing people to help you, mentor you, be support for you. That's a great message for people. So,
yeah, most definitely. And especially in St. Louis, I think there's a very good community of people and mentors. So I never knew this, the value of having a counselor or a mentor. But the more I've done that, the more and more I see value. And it's just like going and talking to a therapist about your problems. So,
yeah. Oh, that's great. So, Leenna, thank you. Will you let people know how to find you? We may also have people listening who would like a recruiter.
Yes, most definitely. So my company page, website is still being under construction. We're updating some of the stuff on there. But you can always reach me on LinkedIn. I'll put my link later so you can share that. And I would love to connect and help out. And yes, and companies, if you need to find talent, please come find us, and we would love to work with you. So thank you. And job seekers, we're always there for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll put your LinkedIn in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate the conversation, and good luck. Keep going. You're doing really well. So, yeah, great conversation. Thank you, listeners, for being here with us on the Money and You show. We always appreciate that. You can find us on all the platforms where podcasts are found, and also the Limit Free Life YouTube channel and Roku and some other interesting places. And please give us a review, a like, share the show with your friends. We are talking about money and how to really a lot of education around money and career growth and how to earn money as well as how to manage money in general. And with the hopes that you'll get some education and you will take action and understand your relationship with money, because without that, it's hard to take action, hard to make decisions. So thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Michelle. Bye.